happy day, happy evening, happy whatever time you want to call it. It is Tracy A. Martin. This is the podcast Sit in It. And my co host is Dreamer Divine. Would you like to say some words to everybody viewing or listening today?
Hello and happy Monday, whatever time of day it is where you are. Thank you again for joining us, whatever time you decide to watch the video. And I can't wait to see where today's conversation goes.
Perfect, Dreamer Divine. We have no questions submitted this week. Again, if you have any question that you want aired, I want you to know that by you asking that question, you are not alone. The consciousness has many similarities of very familiar questions to people that one of you asking will open up for other people. And so if you do have a question you'd like to submit it by email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. And because there are no questions this week, we're going to allow it to take us where we want to go. So the first thing that I'd like to have people sit in is, what is gratitude to you? It's one of the most powerful expressions or feelings that we can actually feel when we allow ourselves to sit in the gratitude of how we feel, because it is only within ourselves the level of gratitude that we feel. So you'll hear many people say, I'm so grateful for this food or this person or this experience. And most of it is just words that don't have a true feeling behind it. And within all the courses that we teach here at Opening Doors Productions, one of the greatest places that you can sit in and be in is the observer, the witness. Because the moment you are in the observer, which is the true self, observing not only you, the avatar that you are, and everything around you, you actually feel on more of a whole level instead of the dogma that you are reacting in. And what I mean by that is how the mind will perceive something compared to when you observe and really allow the expansion of everything around you. So you can be sitting, and that's where most of you will have the most amazing moments of gratitude, because it's by yourself in silence when you're just observing. You could be watching beautiful flowers or nature or anything that is just breathtaking to you. It could be water just flowing in a river where it becomes such a presence within you that the gratitude is felt on such a joyful level. And so, Dreamer Divine, when have you had some of the most amazing moments of instant gratitude?
I think gratitude also comes from a place of love. So when you have gratitude, you are feeling and being and completely open to love, because those feelings intermix with each other and those emotions. So when you feel joy, you're in that place of love. And I think that gratitude comes from, like you said, stopping and observing and realizing really what you're grateful for, and the things that don't add to that gratitude or aren't necessarily, we could say, I guess, go back to the whole needs and wants. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel gratitude of, is that I don't need everything in the world. I want everything in the world for myself. And what I want, I know that I'm powerful enough to manifest, but I don't need a lot of things to bring me gratitude. And when you're observing, for example, if you're at a wedding, or if other people are exposed to, say, your family or your children, for example, and they say things about them, and you realize how much gratitude you have for realizing what you've done to create these little people, and the gratitude that that gives you when other people recognize your hard work and that your hard work and passion pays off. And so even just being at a wedding and being surrounded by other people's love, and you go back to that place of, oh my God, I feel this way about my partner. And I remember the exact same time and moment where I was in that place. And you're just so grateful for everything that surrounds that and the people that are there. And it just brings everybody together. And I think gratitude is definitely a stem of love and joy.
And it really truly is. It's the reason that affirmations do not work is because many people are caught up in the thought of it, of the thinking of it, and captured around just speaking a word, but it has zero intention in it. It has no punch in it, no pull, no strength. And that's the difference between an affirmation and an intention. And that is where, when you really sit in what gratitude really is, and it catches you off guard because you're in the busy moment of observing when it will always capture you. Because you can say, I feel grateful for this, I feel grateful for that, and anyone hearing you speak it sees they're empty. But when you are caught up in a moment, right? And like you said, in a beautiful wedding or ceremony of union and devotion that you're seeing, and you're observing the emotions that everybody are caught up in from different perspectives. And, for instance, we were at the most glorious wedding, one of the most beautiful weddings I've been to in a very, very long time. The officiant delivered such a phenomenal, unique way of creating a union between two people. And the moment that I saw the tears of joy and the real rawness, that is where I become so grateful, because it's real. And what was so great for me was, as I'm observing the whole presence that I was in, there was this beautiful yellow monarch butterfly that was floating around them the whole time, and he'd play in the forest and then come back for the it was like for that he wanted this beautiful butterfly needed to hear the next set that was going to be happening with what they were doing. And it was so, the gratitude you feel of the oneness that you feel all around you. It's not one thing, it's the whole thing. And that's where gratitude really starts to take you, when you start to play there. And like I've said, many times I've said to people, you can speak your affirmations all day long, and now you're going to try to blame someone else for why you're not manifesting something. And that is the true victim to victor part to begin with. But because you were learning from someone who was giving you empty thoughts, because it's just been such regurgitated stuff that has been in our broken mind traps. Because like the new age spiritual movement and the religious movement are the same bird, and they were still there designed to keep you entrapped in searching outside of yourself instead of what's going on inside. And that's the difference, that's the guts, when we start to really become the observer. When you understand that you are actually observing yourself, you realize who the real you is. And most people have never taken the time to sit and think or feel what I'm speaking about. So let's take you into who's the one observing you, listening to your thoughts. If there was someone not observing you, listening to your thoughts, where would they be? This is a mind cramp that many people go to at first when they realize, oh, when you go to the observer state, which is the powerhouse, this is the guts in how we start to really learn to get into emotional intelligence, because it is the observing of me reacting. It's the observing of me in the situation, the me that I call myself and someone else, and the banter that's happening. Who's that person observing it to pull out of reaction and to be able to now respond? And that is the getting in touch with the higher self, who is truly the consciousness observing everything that you have going on. So I would love for you to sit in these words, because the more you become the observer, the witness, watching the play, you become the powerhouse. And that is why, as you start really going in deeper and deeper to get to know thyself, the more you realize the illusion that you're playing in. And I've had many people say to me, I don't understand what 3D and 5D is. I don't know how to get there. And then I've also had some people that, they're so filled in their ego that they say, "Oh, I'm 5D. I graduated into 5D this many years ago." I was like, "No, you didn't. No, you did not. You can pretend all you want, but you're playing in an illusion." We can have vibrations, higher, lower, all of those energies. Whatever we're buying into is where we're buying into, and that's what we're feeding. That 3D illusion, that density is always very resistant and slow. And that is where most people will feel captured in emotions that they choose to say are theirs. And when you become the observer or the witness, it starts to become very much only now, because it's the next now present moment where you are playing in, and the feeling that you feel that you are manifesting the next moment in is where the emotional intelligence comes from. So, Dreamer Divine, when we had you in the 8-week course, what was a defining moment for you when you first started learning to observe instead of be the actual player playing in that play role?
I think there was definitely moments when you can pull yourself out, it becomes major moments of clarity where you actually sitting back to observe instead of react automatically. When you observe, you see and witness so much more to the situation. Whereas as soon as if you're just going straight to reaction, you're not seeing all parts of the situation play out, or you're not seeing all the players that possibly could be in that situation. Or you actually may not come to the realization of what you're playing out that could be a broken mind trap on repeat. That when you take a step back to observe the situation, and that how detachment is a very strong word sometimes in those situations where you need to detach yourself to realize that you have nothing to do with the situation, that you're deciding that your reaction needs to be a part of it when it was never an interaction for you to be involved in the first place. And like we've learned, once you react and once you put yourself in, then you're at play for whatever plays out after that, and then you're involved and you're part of how that's going to play out. And so I think once you take that step back, and trust me, it goes in roller coaster waves constantly where you'll get it, you'll be there, and then sometimes you go backwards a couple steps, but you still know how to get yourself back there to the place of, okay, you know what, I'm falling back into this repeat habit of doing it again, and it doesn't feel good, and it's causing chaos, or it's causing some discord. And then you know how to bring yourself back, because like you said, there's clarity in it, there's clarity in observing. And I think it's a very powerful tool when you sit back and you know that you don't always need to be a part of everything, that just observing it is enough to be a part of it. It definitely is a great feeling.
And many people are really becoming the observer because so many people have detached themselves from society and are really, really enjoying being quiet, being in their own space. And I know when I started really, really going into the deeperness of who I wasn't interested in anything outside of me because it's not bringing anything to me. It was truly being able to sit in, who am I? What am I choosing right now? And so many people will take courses, They will, like I've said, the reason that why we designed the way we did these courses the way they are is because you're not alone. Because most people want to change, they don't know where to begin. So they buy a book because this person's famous. They buy a course because they've heard they're famous. And I'm here to tell you, you're not here to be famous outside of you. You already are famous. And it's when you start hearing something that someone has to say that you become very magnetically attracted to it. There's something in there for you in remembering who you are. Because you're not here to become something, you're here to unbecome the thing you thought you were and become who you are, creating every brand new breath of every minute of every day. And I have so many clients that I'm so proud of that have taken any of my life shops throughout the years that come in the chair one-on-one with me and are learning to unlearn so many things, and they have been so appreciative that I hold them to task because I can't help you. I can't save you, but I can love you. And that's why I love what I do, because I'm helping you get to the best parts of you. And it's truly getting you out of your own way. And what's so great within these courses is realizing it's simply is. Love simply is. You simply are. And when you understand how the program's working around everything that you become, it's because it's repetitive. It is the nature of repetition. That is how the subconscious mind works. It hears it over and over again. It says, okay, this is what this person did last time. This is how they responded last time. This was the feeling they felt that we will bring back out for them. This is everything of how it works. You are so simple. And when you are unlearning an old trait that had been ingrained for so long, you have to give yourself the time to unwind all that was so that you can repeatedly define who you're choosing right here, right now. And that's why observer, witness is the key, because, like Dreamer Divine said when she was in it, and you're knee deep in it, you aren't here and are not able to become the same reactionary place that you were when you start observing you reacting. And that is a very powerful tool to be, because so many of you, when you're learning or unlearning and then you take a step back, you're mad at yourself instead of, oh my god, I see this, and you're able to correct it while you're in the reaction. That is guts. That is truth, and that is the real rawness I'm talking about, of how you become a different response even as words are starting to come out of your mouth, because the repetition that was so used to how you used to be, or how you used to respond or react or not in fight, flight, or freeze, you suddenly can capture yourself in the moment of the heat into that observer. You know you're becoming a pretty enlightened lady and man, because that is where the kings and queens are, is where, when you're in the trigger of it, when you are in the runner of it, that you are able to respond differently. That is emotional intelligence, because the emotion doesn't overcome you, it breaks through you, so that it then changes in mid swing. You can be in the place, instead of getting to the place of anger of where you used to go, that the moment you're starting to feel off, that you can capture yourself back, slow it down, catch it back into the greatness of where you want the trajectory to go. And this is what we're talking about, of why it's so important, because many of you have taken courses and it's just a philosophy to you. That's all it is. I'm not going to lie to you, because you need to hear that you think that you are this enlightened person, or you're awake, and you've got to hear that that's a broken mind trap, because it's limited. We are perfect, whole, complete, ever perfecting. We're continually growing, expanding. We will never ever be fully awake. We will never ever be enlightened. To attain enlightenment is another ego trap. You just are. You are in that moment who you are on purpose, and everything is divinely orchestrated on purpose because of the intent that you put into the manifestation. And many of you do not, I have so many people, I want to learn how to be a master manifester. You already are. But you've been manifesting what you don't want for so long, and you don't want to take the blame for that. You don't want to be responsible for the fact you've been creating your whole life because of what has been fed to you that you're feeding back. So let's break this down to go to even a more simpler state. Let's go to the place of we are either feeding the illusion of what we do not want, or we are creating the reality we want and we're feeding it. So, no different than many of you who are, thank God, realizing the lies that the whole mainstream medias of every kind that have been scripted to tell you, because they are feeding a consciousness. They're feeding into a consciousness what they want you to believe. Again, when you realize that you are light, and that light is infinite intelligence. You are light. You are love. And everything is created through you. Therefore, who are the most important here on this plane now? It's you. When you understand that distorted light, or what you call evil or dark, or whatever you want to call it, they are the spinning of an electron that completely had stopped in a moment within the abate of the breath just before the exhale, in that moment where that electron was captured and distorted. And it started to slowly turn counterclockwise, and it became dense, resistant, and slow. And that is the whole 3D plane. They can't create from false light. They need true, real, raw light, which is you. So who has been dependent on you their whole existence? You. So now, big boots have to be worn here, because everything that is fed to create our whole consciousness is what they're depending on. So the charlatans that they are, the manipulators that they are, that are continually on repeat, and you're subliminally taking it in, you're subconsciously taking it in, consciously you're catching it, but you're still taking it in, and it just starts to become, because you've been taught many broken mind traps that you want to fit in, that the word normal alone is a broken mind trap. Because how many people do you hear, well, it's normal to do this. I want to just fit in. I want to be normal. That's the biggest lie and the biggest broken mind trap that's out there. You're here to not fit in. You're here to be seen by you, because it's you that can only decide you're feeling joy in what you do. So when you look in all of society and you see the feeding that has been happening of that 3D illusion that is completely inside out, upside down, and backwards, now you understand, because it's the opposite that created this separation or duality. So the more that you understand you are so magnificent, you are that light that is needed to create, that now you have the responsibility of understanding, what am I feeding? What am I feeding into? What am I buying into? Because it's all on you. And that's the distortion that they try to make you believe, is that you have free will. And you do have free will, but the charlatans and the manipulators needed you to accept that to create it. So when I say this to you, when you first started hearing how important and how loved and beautiful you are, dreamer divine, how was that within you? And what was the levels that you went through, whether it was first denial to acceptance? What did you go through and are still going through, dreamer divine?
Ooh, there we go. I think that explains it. It is a feeling of at first it feels almost uncomfortable because you have to go through that uncomfortable because it doesn't feel normal or it doesn't feel familiar at first because you're so not used to it because most of us are our biggest critics. And so when you start hearing that and feeling that, you're overwhelmed totally with so many emotions that you don't know how to process them. And as you move through them and begin to understand and feel that on so many more levels of love and acceptance and just plain happiness and joy it brings to your heart, it makes you cry. It literally still brings tears to my eyes every single time because you can feel it right into your heart center. And it is interesting how different people react to it because at first they're very standoffish and they're embarrassed almost to be put into that spotlight, but they need to know that they are always the center of the spotlight, always, because you should have as much love for yourself as anyone else does first, because that puts you in such a better place to be joy, to be love, to be happiness. And so yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster of emotions at first because you know you're not expecting it to hear it and feel it as much as you do because you've always been waiting and looking for someone else to say it to you instead of feeling it yourself. So it's a lot of emotions to move through.
That's beautiful, dreamer divine. And within that, you start to realize so much of what your programming became, of why you looked so much outside of yourself your whole life, and you were looking for approval from someone else and that validation from someone else because you were taught, right, genetically, even before birth and coming in around all the broken mind traps around you, that you aren't important, that everyone else is more important than you. And do you know, and I remember actually one of the coolest things that I remembered going back to when I first started going in to realize the pieces of me that were so strong and powerful, and then the pieces of me that I knew at that point I started second guessing. And, you know, and it had, as a child, like I said again, and I'll say this to you over and over again because that's what everybody's trying to make their money off of right now, is about healing the inner child when you are every age and stage of who you are now. My inner child, whenever I go back to any of my child stuff, she was fearless. Fearless, fun, in the moment, just doing whatever. And whenever I've gone to talk to her or go to meet in hypnosis, when we go and meet all of whoever wants to show themselves to me to tell me what they need or the love that they need, whatever it is the interaction of all of the yous that you are. And so I want you to let go of the broken mind traps again that make you blame everything on the inner child that you were, instead of knowing you could have had the most beautiful life in and love on so many levels, and bam, you're 27 and you're in a car accident, or you had some kind of traumatic event happen to you, and from there you go down a very, very awful, deep place. Do you need inner child work from there? No, from the moment that that has happened, because in that moment was when you created a feeling, a thought, which you kept processing over and over, which is what a trauma is all about, is just you redoing a memory. And that's why fish stories get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why what most of you who believe in post-traumatic stress disorder, it's because they keep reliving and choosing to be that which happened that can never be again. It will never, ever come to you like it did ever again. You could have moments like it that happen again. It will never be the same. It'll be something different every time, which will be another time capsule you put yourself into. And so when you are able to truly observe, that is when you can start deciding what you don't want anymore. Right? Like Dreamer Divine said, it is the reason most people stay busy all the time or always have continual busyness outside of them all the time is because they're too scared to go in. They don't want to go in. They don't want to see the truth. They want to stay in the place of life so they don't have to change. And that is 100% of each and every one of you. That is how the ego mind works. No different than, you'll see family members that want to have some kind of intervention because this one person is an alcoholic or a drug addict or a this or a that or wherever it is, and they want to have an intervention. And that person will always go to the place of denial first because they have to stay in denial. Because the moment they're not in denial, then they know there's something they have to do about it because there's an admittance. They had to admit something to themselves. The moment that is, which is super powerful, now they know there's a choice. And from there, it becomes a very, very uncomfortable place to be. That is why I have zero to ever say, I will never recommend that you go to an AA group or an Al-Anon group because they are all government funded to keep you as a victim and to keep the victimization in your home. Like I've said many times, they love broken. They want every one of you to stay in a victim mentality, the broken mind traps, because then they can control you. The greatest thing is to decide, number one, to be responsible. Number two, to become the action of the change you want to be and see. Number three, you have to have an open mind. The more open your mind becomes, the more you realize there is to know. The more open-minded you are, the more you realize, my God, I only know this much. And I thought that was my whole world. And now the expansion makes me want to know more. And I want to go deeper. And I want to become on so many levels. The fourth thing, very much so, is to know that you have to invest in the professionals that know exactly how to get you out of your way. Broken mind trap, that you need to do it all alone. Biggest lie, to segregate you, to keep you out on your own. That is what handlers do. They get you away from your friends, your families. That's the narcissists. And then the sociopaths, psychopaths do. They pull you away. All the religious cults, they get you away from your support system so that they can make you feel alone, lonely, and needing someone else. Then they repeatedly keep talking, and they feed you food with low nutrient so that you start losing your power and the energy that you need. So when you have someone that has this amazing magnetic energy that you are feeling from your heart, that's your heart that's saying, I know this person because he is me. This is the parts of me I'm remembering. And you take what you need and you leave the rest behind. The fifth, absolutely, that is the key of these 5 keys, is you. And it's love. And it's all about love. Because this is all about what you are as love right here now. And it is the paradox of what love is to you and what love is not to you, is what you are playing in your full gamut of love. We'll use this for an example. How many of you believe that it is a loving trait to worry about your loved ones? Sit in it. What does worry do for you? Worry kills you. Guilt kills you. Fear kills you. Is that love? No. All it is you've been taught that if you love something, it can be taken from you. That is where most people, why they can be the most loving people in the world, and the moment they're in a relationship, an intimate relationship with someone, why they'll become the narcissist, because they're highly insecure and they're scared to lose them. So they'll start belittling them and make them feel lower than them so that they never leave them. I can't tell you how many clients I've had sit in the chair when they're having couples life guide going on, and it's usually the woman saying to the man, "Why don't you ever compliment me?" "Oh, well, I do." "No, you don't." And most of them will tell others how beautiful their wife is or how great they look, but they will not tell their partner. Why? Because they don't want to build them up, because in their insecure, feeble little minds, which is the egoic mind, they're so scared of losing them. What are you concentrating on? The fear of losing them. And ultimately, you will lose them, because that is what you're manifesting. And the karma you have created, that you've projected on others, is going to come back to you. This is what we're talking about in the guts today. And the deeper you go in, like Dreamer Divine said, when you first start remembering that you are the most important being here, right now, because if you're not here, the whole world changes, and you lose that expression of you in this third dimensional reality of you getting to be Dawn or Tracy or whoever you are. Why are you the most important? Because you are the actor here in this play. It is the most important because you're the producer, the writer, the director, the actor, the villain, the victor. You're everything in it. What are you choosing to play in it? And you get to be the one choosing that all the time. And because you were taught for so long that no one is as important as the rest of the world around you, and that you're just there to be a really good subservient slave, then how hard is it to start believing that you are worth something? Why have you lived in poverty and unworthiness and self-sabotage? Because most people are scared of success, because they've been taught that you're going to lose something the moment there's change. But isn't it great to lose what you didn't need anymore? Isn't it great to lose or leave behind old things that did nothing for you? There's always something you're going to gain and something you're going to let go of. So let go of saying you're losing something, because you can't lose something that's never been pinpointed for you, just in that moment. So the moment that you start being able to see the reason Dreamer Divine talks, as all of us have as you go through it, of why you cry, is because you cannot believe that you were so awful to you. Like I've said, the greatest thing that you could ever do is the words you say to yourself. Stop and observe and write down. I want you to sit in them. And I want you to picture saying it to a little child. And know that that was you, that little child, that teenager, that anyone. Every time you speak that way to you, did you know the subconscious mind does not know the difference between what you speak to anyone as well as yourself? Doesn't know, other than that it's coming back and boomeranging back to you. So the moment you have expectation on yourself or someone else, it's always coming back to you. It only knows that it centers back to the self. Every time you say something harmful to you or to someone else, you're saying it to you. This is how powerful it is, and that's how much fun they've had playing on it, because this has been the broken mind trap world that tells you instantly that there's some discovery to do by going inside. You know, many people will say to me, how can you be so loving to a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath? And I'll say, I only know to be love. I love the being of them, the soul essence of them, absolutely, because that's the one consciousness of what we are. Doesn't mean I am interested in playing in the same playground they're playing in. I don't have to sleep with them. I don't have to do anything with them. How else is someone who's in the place of wanting access to them. If all of us judged them and weren't there to help them, what would it be to speaking about me? I love absolutely everyone. And I get to be the one that chooses who I play with on that playground. Like I've said, so many of you have been trapped on this merry-go-round and they're spinning it faster and faster and faster, and a ton of you are holding on for dear life and you're puking and you're sick and you're not jumping off. Tuck and roll, man. Tuck and roll, jump off. You have a choice. Or you could put your foot out and start slowing it down. There's so many things you can make a choice to do instead of looking at the rest of what everyone's doing. Become that critical thinker and decide for yourself, no, I don't want this anymore. How many people are standing in a lineup to go on a slide? And guess what? Why would I wait in line? That's why I refuse to ever go to somewhere like Walt Disney's World and all these places like that. I'm like, I'm not interested in being herded, number one, as cattle. Number two, thinking that I have to wait for anything. Number three, for what? For someone to take a whole bunch of ridiculous money to give me 2 minutes of a ride that I could have so much more fun and joy doing somewhere else. I could be on my paddleboard all day long and have so much more that I would feel out of that than that moment. It's learning, where do you want to be? What do you really want? That is what takes you to the place of gratitude. The deeper and deeper you go in, the deeper and deeper you sit in observing the beauty that is all around you, you start realizing, guess what? That beauty I would not see if it was not already in me. Many of you believe you don't know how to love, that you don't know how to, that you don't know how to. If you can feel gratitude on any level, you're the observer in the present, feeling a feeling of love. And it could be the easiest, and I swear that is why dogs were created, because they are the easiest place that makes you feel so much gratitude, because they are just unconditional. They don't know to be anything but them. That's a same thing for many of us. The moment you're around, when like I have a beautiful property and every tree that's on my property are my babies. My grass are my babies. My weeds are even my babies. My everything that is there, I consider they're my babies, and I'm their caretaker, and I love them. And the gratitude you start feeling when you change your mindset to understanding everything is life and everything was created divinely on purpose, it completely becomes a game changer, because now the more that you are connected to all that you are, the more you will realize that you have absolutely every reason to feel that gratitude of who you are. Dreamer Divine, do you see how we moved around from the beginning of gratitude, go through these beautiful rabbit holes, and it always takes us back to what gratitude is? And do you see the layers and levels of broken mind traps as you start getting deeper and deeper into the love of all that you are, that it starts to really experience higher and higher and deeper levels of gratitude?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's it's all connected on purpose, because once you start going in and realizing, who you are and what you stand for and your true authenticity, it pushes you out of your comfort zone into the next uncomfortable thing that you need to deal with, because once you heal something or release something, it's going to keep bringing more things up to deal with, because once you release that, you feel so much better and you almost level up and then you move to the next level up, and you just feel lighter and freer, and you just keep working on that, and it doesn't get any worse. You never go backwards when you continually want to make yourself a better person and always come from a place of love. If you just be love, you constantly get that back. When you put that out there, you get that back, and it makes you feel amazing. And so you definitely want to keep going, because you can't plateau on love. You can't like level out. It just puts you in a higher perspective, and then you observe new things, and it's like fresh eyes every time, because you're seeing new things around you, and you're opening up to experience new things that you may have been in the whole time and never actually seen. And that is one of the coolest things about how it's all connected and how it flows. And it's different for every single person. And that is one of the coolest things, I think, is that nobody's journey here is the same. Nobody is meant to be the same and go through the same things, or else how monotonous and boring would that be? We might as well all have been robots if we got sent here to do that, because we're all just looking at each other. We all look the same, we all act the same, we all do the same things, and that would be so boring. What would conversations be like? Oh, hey, you're a robot? Cool, me too. We do the same things. So that's why I think everybody's, and I honor everybody's journey, because it's beautiful, and the experiences they get to have and the experiences you get to have are all choices you get to make and do on your own. And that's how amazing you are.
And that's perfectly said. And that's what I really want to address, so much so in this as well, because I have so many clients who have taken the course, and Dreamer Divine's one of them, because I won't allow someone to be a hypocrite. If they're going to be a coach here at Opening Doors, you have to have gotten through the whole guts of everything to understand, to unwind all those broken mind traps going on, and to unravel all that is not, so that you have a brand new perspective. And so many have gone through it, and I'm going to have Dreamer Divine talk in a sec of what she went through and has experienced through it. And so many will take the course or courses, and then they believe, oh, I graduated and I'm done, I took care of all of it, and they do nothing to stay in the repetition of keeping that brand new idea of how you want to keep rolling and keep foraging and feeding it to stay forward. So many of you will say, oh, I did it and I'm this now. No, you're not, because you've gone backwards into this, because you've stayed in the repeated same old, going back to what was your original default. Why is it so important? Why we created a group after, so that people check in and we continually have you going in and you have each other to talk with. And why, when you buy that course, it's yours for life, so that you can go in at any time. And as many of the people in the life groups and all that I've seen, is every time they are drawn to a certain video on a certain week, or a certain audio, there's something in there exactly for them, because you know exactly what you need, because you are magnetically attracting it. So Dreamer Divine, can you talk to me about, on this journey of self-awareness of the self, of how it has to be continual?
In the beginning, it's very, very overwhelming, because it feels like it's a lot. And of course, your ego gets in the way and you fight it. Basically, your subconscious fights your ego, because you say, I don't need this. This isn't right. I'm good. There's nothing I need to work on or fix, until you start actually realizing, and you start way, way back into realizing, what you were influenced by and who you were influenced by. And it starts at a super young age, because it happens to all of us. And so once you start in the beginning and you start unraveling that, you may think that even certain people in your life never influenced you, because you loved them and you saw a certain part of them. But then when you open up and realize that there's things that, no matter how much somebody loves you, they still will say and do things that are a broken mind trap of what they were became a learned behavior. And you don't know any better as a child, so you just go with it, because you think, it could even be your parents. You think, well, they're my parents, they know best. And sometimes you learn that they learned that behavior from someone else, and it necessarily wasn't the best behavior, because it was a repeat. So then you go through those phases and learn that, okay, this is going to take me really deep, because depending on the age that you are when you enter the course, you can go back years and years and years, and you have all that stuff to unpack. And then the reason I use unpack is because when you pack something, you try to fit as much as you can into that suitcase. And so, and there's layers and layers of it, of clothes and everything, but there's layers and layers to us and how many years we've been here as human beings. And so when you start to unpack it, you look at it, it's like pulling a piece of clothing out and looking at, does that feel good? Does that still fit? Is that me anymore? Or is that somebody that existed 10 years ago, and you don't feel good with how that felt or how that feeling felt or who you were? And so you can take that out of your suitcase and you can deal with it and move forward. And it's all about unpacking and moving forward and releasing and just understanding what the emotions are around it and feeling them and letting it flow through. And so in the beginning, it's very overwhelming. You start to feel it all, because it is the stuff you've been carrying around in that suitcase for years and years and years. And when you get to the part of realization of why you felt that way, you get to see it from an adult's perspective rather than a child, because you didn't understand it and it just happened. And so now you get to process it and move through it and know that you don't have to hold on to it anymore. And you can take that off your shoulders and you just feel lighter and better and lighter. And then, even like Tracy said, it's a constant learning curve, because you can fall back into a routine of your life and get caught up, because we get so busy now. Nothing is ever as simple as it used to be, and we complicate it by trying to keep ourselves busy and overkill everything. But when you realize that you're just overwhelming yourself, you're now going back to that place of uncomfortable chaos and just piling it back on yourself, when you need to go back to just the simple fact that you need to love you. And then you go back to that. And from that, you fill your cup. You can't give from an empty cup. So when you fill your own cup, you can move forward step by step to get back to that place that felt so good in the beginning. And the stuff that you worked through can be released again if you happen to fall back in and decide that you wanted to carry it again. So it's definitely a consistent grow and learn and grow and learn. And I like to use the lotus flower as an example for myself. That's what resonates for me, is that the lotus flower starts so closed, but it slowly opens up, and there's so many different layers of petals in there, and they fall away, but new ones grow, and we continue to open up and grow. And I love that analogy, because you're never just stuck in one place. Your journey takes you to so many different experiences, and it's how you decide to accept or embrace or not embrace those journeys and experiences that you move forward through. And you're not ever going to be, unless you become a hermit and stay in your house and you're not exposed to anyone or anything, and if that's how you decide to live your life, that's great, but you're still creating that experience for yourself. And so I just think that it's a beautiful lesson and a beautiful journey, because you can never stop. There's no stopping, because if you stop, you're dead. You literally do not get to be here anymore. If you stop wanting to grow and experience new things, then you literally are dead.
Well, and like I've said, that's why the biggest broken mind trap you can say to anyone is, oh, grow up. I'm busy. I'm busy trying. I'm busy growing. We're growing up. We're growing in all of our life. All of our life, we're growing up or growing in. And the day we go home is because we're done with that part of it and we're ready for the next. We're never ever stopping. We're continually ever expanding, as is Source, as is the universe. It can't implode upon itself other than when a negative or distorted light force tries to use creation against it. Dreamer Divine, I want to thank you so much, because you have been such an amazing light for so many of our clients here at Opening Doors Productions. They absolutely love you as an accountability coach, because you naturally are gifted. You are the most contagious laugh. You have a magnetic personality and charm on purpose. And I'm so proud of you. And from where you started to where you are today, you are completely someone brand new every time I meet you. And that is what the Creator God is. That is the consciousness of who we are. We are here to be creators. We are here to be the joy that we are. And everyone who's ever met or gotten to, work with our accountability coach, Dreamer Divine, has had nothing but the greatest feelings, because you become such an amazing connection, because they get to have you 30 minutes a week the whole time they're in those courses, and they don't feel alone, they don't feel judged, they feel supported. And that is why we do what we do, because we know that's what love is. Love is loving ourselves so much that you can't help but love everyone else, because they are us, just having a different perspective, personality in this beautiful play. I hope each one of you got something out of this podcast today. Take what you need, leave the rest behind. That's why we do what we do, because it's designed for you to sit in it, feel your way through it. That's what a breakthrough is. And that's why so many people were asking for this to happen. That's why we're doing this. And if it is one person that is listening, then we've done something to love someone else. And that's what it's about. There is no measuring what this is, other than that's what love is. Is there anything, Dreamer Divine, you'd like to say to our viewers to help them, support them, or encourage them this day?
I think that I'd just like to go back to the word gratitude, because that is one of the most beautiful words that you can feel and experience and give to other people to make them feel beautiful and joy and love. And I think gratitude, I'm so grateful to be here, like you said. And if just one person listens, I'm grateful for that, because once you get to a point where you feel, the love for yourself and the joy for yourself, all you want to do is make other people feel the exact same way. And you want to be there to help them and support them and see how beautiful and amazing each and every one of you is. And so if it's just one person that listens to this, then that's amazing, because hopefully you'll start feeling the absolute same joy and love from us that we want you to feel for yourself. And so it's definitely gratitude that I feel every single time that somebody listens to this, that you've taken the time out of your day to hear these words, however you want to hear them and however you want to take them. But thank you so much. I'm so very grateful.
Thank you, Dreamer Divine. Again, if anyone has any questions at all, please email to support@livingwholeonpurpose.com. Make sure that if you do not want your actual name being used, use an alias. No one's going to know the difference, but your questions that are asked help so many viewers. And what's so great is someone can ask a question, and some people haven't even thought of it until it's asked, and then it alerts them to want to know more as well. Many people have asked, where do I begin? If you want to know more about what hypnosis does, hypnotherapy, go definitely to openingdoorsproductions.com or to livingwholeonpurpose.com. Those two platforms are where that we are, and there's everything beginning from one-on-one sessions. There are hypnosis audios that you can purchase, and I have 2 courses right now designed to help you go in, and you have the support of myself, the practitioner, and the accountability coach, and whoever else is in the course at the time. And if you have a place where you're ready and want to go in, absolutely, there's a place to book a call, because that is where we go to help you break through, because it is just us loving you. You're the one doing it all, but you never have to do it alone. And that's why it works. We're here as a unity. That's how our consciousness is. It's in a union. And so to start letting go, and the more that you're hearing me speak in these episodes of what broken mind traps are, and to sit in them, it helps you have an expansive, through the heart, new view through the higher mind of the illusions playing out. And we take you from victim to victor. And so I love you. I thank you all and I honor you and thank you so much for listening. We'll see you soon.